Greetings everyone, I'm Mar, and welcome back to the channel. As you can tell, I got a new do, going with the beard, and I have a guest with me. Say hi, Rocky. Say hi. Say hi to the YouTube audience. Oh yeah, you're such a good birdie. As you can tell from the title, I'm doing something a little different this time. Instead of a review video, I'm going to be reading from a subreddit. It's going to be from the r/askreddit. And it's going to be Lawyers of Reddit. Has any client ever made you go, how the fuck am I supposed to defend you? And if so, how did it go? Right there, I'm going to be reading it off the trusty iPhone. And these are going to be in random order. I'm going to start with a couple of the new ones and then go to the top ones for the real meat of this subreddit. This first one is from Default Hun. My mother was a judge, and she told me once about a taxi driver who got a fine, and he protested against it because he thought that he did nothing wrong. My mother showed him the evidence and told him that it's obvious that he is rightly fined and he should just pay it because there is no way that he wins the case and it would be 10 times cheaper if he stops. He still protested it and had to pay more. Dude was literally told he can't win. This reminds me of that joke from years and years ago about pay the $2, where this one client wants to just pay the $2 fine, but his lawyer keeps wanting to fight, and the judge keeps racking on more and more to the thing, and he's like, I'll pay the $2, I'll pay the $2. I mainly know about that story because I believe it's it's North by Northwest that it was referenced in at the beginning when the cops, after they pulled him over and he's trying to prove, hey, I was drugged and they put me in that car. He goes to the house and it's all wrong. His mother tells the character played by Cary Grant, just pay the $2. It's one of those things that's still a little funny, but if you don't understand the context of the joke, it goes a little bit over there. Kind of like the whole Bugs Bunny being a parody of a Clark Gable film. This next one is from Reese002. I'm just guessing on that pronunciation because of the spelling. I had a client come in for a DWI, driving under the influence. This should be interesting. She was about 40 and her mother came with her. She went into this story about her medications and how she wasn't drinking, and she was framed by her ex that was the supervising sergeant of the officer who arrested her. Ooh, a possible conflict of interest. There was some difficulty getting the video from the prosecutors, but eventually we got it. Up to that point, she had insisted on a trial. I took her, without her mom, to watch the video. She was wasted. Couldn't walk straight, clearly intoxicated. Admitted on the video she drank half a bottle of vodka before driving. I asked her if she thought we could convince the jury she wasn't intoxicated. She didn't agree to take the reduction I had worked out for her. Thankfully, the prosecutor hadn't watched the video yet. Her mother was furious with me. I told her it was the client's decision, not mine or the mom's. The client eventually reached out to thank me for not showing the video to her mom. Weird relationship. Well, at first it looked like it was going to be a conflict of interest with the sergeant, but with her on video obviously wasted and admitting to drinking a bottle of vodka, they have her dead to rights if they had gone to trial. That's why they tell you anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. And it makes me wonder what the mother would have done. I mean, they don't say the ethnicity of the mother and daughter, but I can imagine if this was a Hispanic family, she would start yelling in Spanish, Ay, amiga! This next one is from I'm Having a Stroke. Hey, I didn't pick the name. Not me, but a story my old teacher told me. He was a lawyer in the early 80s, and he was defending a woman who claimed she was raped by her ex-boyfriend. Her story was that while they were dating, he had come to her apartment, forced her down, and raped her. When asked what that day was, her boyfriend provided evidence he was out of town for the entire week her event happened. She then proceeds to change the date, and she gave an exact time, to which she then provided evidence that he was at work that day, during the time she provided. She then proceeded to throw up her hands and say, how else am I supposed to convince you that he raped me? My teacher apparently gave up at that point and just asked her to shut up before she got herself in even more trouble. The case was dropped. The boyfriend never made any claims against her. Well, there we obviously have a case of a false rape accusation. And it was an easy one to prove it, because once they were able to show he couldn't have done it, because he had an alibi that was quite substantiated, and she changed her story. She just went up and admitted that, how else am I supposed to get it? This one is from Imperial Supplies. This is a short one, too. I remember I had 2 assault charges in middle school. I was a bad kid and told my lawyer exactly what I did, and he just kept saying, "Don't tell me." Which is a good position to take as a defense attorney, because when you're a defense attorney, it doesn't matter whether your client did it or didn't do it. You're supposed to give them the best defense you can and try to get them off. It's more important to impeach the credibility of the witnesses and the integrity of the evidence than it is whether your client is guilty or innocent. That's part of the reason that a certain football player was able to get off. This next one is from Helpful Spray 4, and it is a little lengthy. When I was working as a bailiff, we had a bond hearing for a domestic violence case. Here is the exchange. Judge: Sir, you have been charged with assault on a female, resist public officer, and felony by strangulation. The maximum possible penalty is 120 months in the Department of Corrections. At this point, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you can say will be used against you in the court. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford counsel, I will appoint one to represent you. Suspect: What are the charges? Judge: Assault on a female, resist public officer, and felony assault by strangulation. Suspect: How the fuck am I getting charged with assault by strangulation? All I did was choke her with my hands. Judge: Sir, I will remind you, you have the right to remain silent. Suspect: A felony for choking her with my hands? Judge: Yes, sir. Would you like me to appoint you an attorney? Suspect: Fuck you. Judge: Sir, I won't appoint an attorney in this matter. You can choose to hire an attorney. At a later time, I will set your bond at $10,000 secured. Suspect: $10,000? Fuck you. I better not see you when I get out. Ooh, bad move there, buddy. Judge to the clerk of the court: Madam Clerk, I'm amending the bond amount. Suspect: That's what I thought. Judge: The new bond amount is $50,000 secured. Suspect: Fuck you. Suck my dick, you piece of shit. Judge: Madam Clerk, I'm amending the bond amount once more to $10,000 secured. The suspect then had to be forcefully removed from the courtroom by bailiffs and jail staff. Months later, he went to jury trial against his attorney's advice, and all the witnesses from the above exchanges were summoned to testify to his statements that he made. Needless to say, he lost, but I gotta hand it to the defense attorney. He really did try, even though the case was unwinnable. Remember, folks, listen to your attorney. They probably know what they are talking about. This is probably the worst foot that guy could have started with. Yelling at the judge for the bail hearing. Not a good first impression, especially cursing at the judge. And he just wasted more money. This next one is from Yellow Not Yellow again. It is short, but it is sweet. I interned at Legal Aid, not our client. Custody case. He accused her of using coke all the time, which made her an unfit mother. She defended herself. Your Honor, I have never used cocaine in my life. I wouldn't. I only smoke crack. Case closed. I don't even know what to say about that other than, are you really that dumb? You realize that crack is a form of cocaine? Doesn't matter whether you were doing the whole 80s yuppie thing and cutting it up and snorting it off the desk or smoking it like you do with crack. You're still using cocaine. And I'd say using crack, you're even more of an unfit mother. This next one is from Winter Push. I'm a criminal defense guy, so I've had plenty. Most infuriating one was a guy that got busted for selling rocks to a confidential informant. The CI was wired for sound and video, so the whole transaction is crystal clear. Plus, the cops ID'd his car as the one that drove up to the scene, and he was stopped a couple hours later with the buy money in his possession. Serial numbers were recorded. He had 3 prior convictions for cocaine sales. The prosecutor offered him 5, which was the mandatory minimum. He absolutely declined to even consider a plea, insisted on a jury trial, insisted on taking the stand, and telling a ridiculous story about how it wasn't him in the video. There wasn't any doubt. I felt like Lionel Hurts trying to string together a closing argument with a straight face. He got 20 years. This client was stupid. Did he really think that they're gonna get him? Now, in theory, if all they had was the witness statements, they might have been able to get him off, depending on how the defense attorney argued it, because eyewitnesses, the most unreliable forms of evidence. If it's combined with everything else, you got it good, but if it was just the witness statements by themselves, nah. But since it's undercover, probably they might be able to get onto it. But with an informant, then you could probably argue that they're doing it just to save their own skin, depending on how well the defense attorney is at arguing. But now all he has is hearsay and conjecture, which are kinds of evidence. This next one is from 30 Helens Agree. It's probably a Trojan account. At a disposition, it's the questioning and lawyer's responsibility to ask the right questions to get the info he or she is after, and the lawyer has to be thorough and methodical. If they neglect to ask about something, that's their problem. Those defending the witness always tell the witness not to volunteer information and to just respond to the questioning lawyer's questions. Again, don't volunteer. Good advice, by the way. I had a witness come in and we went through the whole preparation meeting where I gave her all the instructions and told her not to volunteer. Again, don't volunteer. I asked if she's reviewed anything to prepare. Nope. So that's good. You have to disclose things you've reviewed. We go through the disposition and she does fine. Questioning lawyer is done. He's packing up his stuff. The court reporter is packing up her stuff and the lawyer is walking towards the door. Witness says, "Did you want to see this?" and pulls out a stack of books that no one had ever asked about. She hadn't told me about, and which contained stuff that the other side was able to use. Fucking dumbass. Idiot. Need I say more? But there is a comment below this, which I believe is by the poster called Ahilia? A lot of cop shows would be so boring to watch if this was widely practiced. As an example, in CIS, Gibbs takes great pride in getting suspects to confess, especially with little evidence elsewhere, and even then mostly circumstantial. After watching the seasons many times, I realized their clearance rate would tank if the suspects would just shut the fuck up. That is true. If you don't give them any information, they have no ammunition. This next one is from Watch the Boom! I've told this story here before, but it's a good one. My friend's mom was a defense lawyer for a hospital. Her job was to represent doctors accused of malpractice or anything related to doctor-patient interaction. I forget all the details, but she had one case where a female patient had accused a male doctor of sexual assault. Ooh. The claim was that the doctor groped the patient several times during a procedure. Ooh. Allegedly, the doctor had been coached to say that during a routine procedure, it's possible that he had inadvertently brushed up against the patient's chest, and that if it happened, it was an unintentional consequence of following standard procedures. In essence, it could be that he was examining her properly, but she misconstrued the standard procedure as something sexual in nature. Let's see what the last paragraph says. So they get to the deposition, and I guess the first question the doctor gets is something along the lines of, "Walk me through what happened." And the doctor says, "I don't know what you want me to say, man. I'm a tick guy. Always have been." They settled. As a doctor, there's certain situations where that could be a good opening line and a little bit of a joke. Probably not if you're a male doctor working with females, unless you know the person and know that they got a good sense of humor like that. A deposition where you are in legal hot water is not one of them. This next one is from Haywire70. I had to try to defend a man who walked into a convenience store with a knife demanding money. He wore no masks, just his casual clothes, and walked through every aisle before he robbed it, being spotted by every security camera in the store. After the robbery, he ran back to the hotel he was staying at, also carrying an open backpack full of money, being seen by the hotel security in the process. He then went into his room, threw the bag on the floor, and hid under the bed until police arrived. I spent a long night thinking about it before passing the case to somebody else, because I have no idea how to defend something who has so much evidence against him. This is one of those cases that even if you were the best defense attorney in the world, unless you can somehow impeach all the video evidence and all the witness testimony, in the words of a John Hughes minor character, you're fucked. This next one is from Donut Shop SSS. Or maybe it's supposed to be Donut Shops. I went to a meeting where an older couple, 80s, sent their life savings to a Nigerian prince, 2009, who was going to triple their money and send it back. They sent money in 2 installments. Grand total was around $40K, and it was obviously stolen. They wanted to know every option they had to get it back, and the answer was simple: none. There's nothing you can do to get your money back. I've never seen two people so mentally broken. They were retired and no longer had access to money in any way. I excused myself from the meeting by faking a call and started crying in the bathroom. I couldn't handle it. Given the age of the couple, I can understand why, because it's hard to break the news like that to someone, but to an older couple that I'm imagining as a sweet older couple, it's heart-wrenching. And like, sir, ma'am, you're not going to be able to do it. There's nothing you have legally to stand on. But I wonder if this is the same Nigerian prince that funded Obama's campaign. I can run in a couple years, buddy. Mind loaning me some money? I can take that 40K off your hands. Alright, this is going to be the last one of the video. And it's from Zuko here. This isn't my story, but it's too perfect to not mention when one of these threads comes up. So we were at a bail hearing for the client, an older guy in his 70s accused of sexually assaulting his granddaughter, who is in her teens. We are just wrapping up, have made all our arguments that the client is an upstanding member of the local immigrant community, no priors, etc., and the judge has granted bail with a reasonable bond. All done, right? No. The client insists he wants to say a few things, so he stands up and gives his bit that he hadn't mentioned to his lawyers at all, about how he doesn't get why there is all this fuss. He didn't even penetrate her with his penis after all, and she was asking for it with that short skirt. At this point, the judge tries to interrupt this by suggesting that maybe this comment would be better suited for sentencing, but the old guy isn't done digging. He just has to tell everybody how he really doesn't know why people are wasting so much time over all of this, as he's going to fly back to his home country in a couple of days anyway. Oh yeah, that one didn't apparently go well. Couple things there. One, this guy is such an idiot to broadcast this to the judge when he was just granted bail. Does he really think admitting to the judge that he's planning to leave the country, i.e. unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, is a smart move? Because the judge, at that moment, is within his legal right to revoke his bail, because he just admitted he's about to commit another crime. Second, he's admitting to the crime right there, so that might be a thing that they can use later against him, so he dug his hole there. 3, the argument that I hate most from this guy right here. The whole, hey, he was asking for it. It's like, she could have been walking through the house stark naked. That does not give him the right to force himself on her. That's one of those things where it's like, I don't care if he's a 70-year-old man. If it was my daughter and he'd done that, I'd probably, let's just say that me and the old man would have probably gone for a long, smooth drive and only one of us would have come back. And I don't know where Gramps went. I don't know, maybe we got lost in the woods. I heard a bear call when we were out there, I don't know. Anyway, guys, that was this installment of Mar Reed's r/askreddit. If you guys like it, I'll probably do another one of these days. Probably pick a different subreddit to read from. Maybe something with birds. Would you like that, Rocky? Would you like an r/bird advice?